Hello there, Glenys Trinder here, transformational healer and eternal optimist. And there is so much to be optimistic about right now. I'm really excited about this time. So we're tomorrow, which is the 29th, whatever time you're watching this, 29th of April, we've got the new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. Now, I'm not an astrologer, but what I do is I work with the energy of what's happening right now in order to create a better life for myself and for everybody that I talk to about these things. So basically what I'm going to do today is talk about, some of the tiny thing, a tiny amount of the astrology of what's happening, why this is important, what you need to be doing. I'm going to give three sort of indications of really what we most need to focus on with this time. I'm going to read some cards. I've pulled already 5 cards from the Ascended Masters deck, and I have one in here from the Goddess Love card. Ascended Masters are by Doreen Virtue, and these are Wendy Andrews. Beautiful set, actually, beautiful set of cards. So first off, new beginnings are always a time to set new intentions, set big wishes, start new plans. It's all about moving in a new direction. And this particular one, because it's Aries, first sign of the zodiac, for me, I feel this really is the beginning of a whole new cycle. We've moved into Aries, the sun has moved into Aries on the 20th of March, but now we've got this new moon, which is really the time to start new things. Now, you may not want to immediately go out and start it tomorrow, because we also have 2 retrogrades, and 2 of the personal planets, Venus and Mercury, which affect us personally, are retrograde right now. So there's a lot of endings with this, as well as new beginnings. So the moon and the sun are at 9 degrees, and in fact the whole year 2025 adds up to 5. 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9, and 9 in numerology is all about endings, culminations, and so we've got those 3 9s in a row, as well as the new beginning of this whole new year. I'm trying to think where to even start. Okay, so because those 2 planets are moving retrograde and they affect us, so Venus affects our love, our abundance. It's a personal planet. It'll affect us, aesthetics, what we want, the beauty in life. And Mercury is all about how we communicate, how we turn up, how we communicate. So what we need to do right now is to be aware of looking back over, especially over these 2 areas, but also over our life. What do we most need to let go of? It's a great place to start. Because right now I have been talking to people about, beginning a whole new phase. And if you are uncertain about what that whole new phase is going to be, or you want it to be, well, look at what you don't want it to be. What are you done with? What do you need to release and let go? That's the first main thing about this whole energy, is what do you want to release and let go? And even if you spend a little time journaling or thinking, or just even being curious about this, what are you done with? And make a note of it. And then if you didn't have that, if you weren't affected by what you were already done with, instead, what do you want instead? And write that out clearly. Be really clear about what you want instead, and be imaginative. This is a super time to be really imaginative and creative about what you want your life to look like. And then looking at the 2 of those, there'll be a big gap between them. We need to find out what are the changes that we can make? What do we need to do to make those changes? What do we, first of all, need to let go of? What do we want to create? And what is the in between? What are we going to have to set in place to do that? So This whole year is going to be massively about change. All of the outer planets have either already, two of them have already, two of them, is it one of them? It's only Pluto has moved into Aquarius. On the day after this new moon, Neptune is going to move into 0 degrees of Aries, which is the very first degree of Aries, the day after the new moon in Aries. And Neptune has it's been 165 years basically since it was at 0 degrees of Aries last, and it's got a long orbit, as does Pluto. Pluto is a 240-year orbit, so that has moved signs just at the end of last year. Now we've got Neptune, and actually all of the other outer planets, the slower moving planets, are all going to move into 0 degrees of their next sign. So there is massive change this year on the cards. We can get caught up in the world view and the panic and the fear and the sort of destruction cycle of change, or we can take back our power and decide to be the change in our own lives. We cannot change anybody else or what's happening outside of us, but what we can change is what's happening inside us. And we can change the way we think, the way we feel, the way we approach this whole year. And in fact, it's going to be longer than a year, because this is a whole new cycle within cycles. There are cycles happening this year that haven't happened for 12,000 years. So there's just so much happening. Okay, and I'm not going to go into that, but in the link in the description below, I'm going to leave a link to my 3 favorite astrologers: Pam Gregory, beautiful, Lada, Astrolada, or Lada Chava, but I'll leave her link, and Tanya Gabrielle, all of the 3 of those. So you choose whichever one resonates with you most. But I feel that by knowing and really understanding what's happening outside you can be useful. You don't need to do that. It may not be something that you want to do. I'm really into it at the moment, but I work with it with my clients, just the energy about what is happening. And let me see, I've got some notes here. I don't want to go off topic. Oh, those planets, so Mercury and Venus being retrograde, they also happen to be going retrograde over that point of the last sign in the zodiac, Pisces, into Aries. In fact, Mercury on tomorrow will be at 0 degrees of Aries as well, and they'll so they've retrograded back from where they are, and they're just going to be kind of moving forward in Aries. So let me see. Yeah, I've said that. Let me see. So the whole thing that I feel that's most important right now is actually looking at your big vision, and don't play small. You know, if you could have anything, and if you are unsure of what you want, look at what you don't want. What are you done with? Because this is a really big time of endings. Ending cycles, ending personal cycles, deciding what you are done with playing out in your life. Is there some habit, addiction, you know, lower feeling or vibration? Is there something that's happening that it's kind of like, yes, this happens all the time? If there's something that you're done with, for now, just decide that you're done with it and be curious about how you can release that. Curiosity is the first step, being curious about what you want instead. And then if you didn't have that in your life, what would you change to be? What would you want instead? And I did this at the beginning of January, actually. I've been studying since January on something else, and I've done this looking back. What am I done with? And what's the big dream or wish? And don't get frightened if it's enormous. Get excited if it's enormous, because you're going to get a big dream and a big wish that the universe wants you to have. You are here not to play small. You are here to create. to co-create. And if you could have something that feels so far outside of, your belief system at the moment, imagine how that would feel. All you need to do right now is dream, and dream big. And follow me for more, because I'm going to be talking more as this month progresses, and how to make that a reality. And I want to make a really super duper free session available, and I'm a little bit confused or uncertain right now what that direction is, so I'm going to be reaching out to you all. If you're in my if you're on my email list, you'll be getting an email about it. And if you're not, there's actually a link also here in the description for a new moon intention setting ritual, sort of a meditation, intention setting, and big wish as well, what you intend to do this month or this year, and what you intend to have. If you could do, be, and have anything. So that little free meditation is really powerful to help you, get that spark of decision making with the new moon, and then you'll also be on my mailing list. So I will be letting people know what I decide to create. But I'm thinking something around vision and clarity, something around manifestation, whether it might be a manifesting challenge again, which I've done in the past, or something on confidence and visibility, confidence moving forward, maybe something on upper limits or money mindset or procrastination or self-sabotage or addictions or decluttering. So if you have something that you are interested in knowing more about, either let me know in the comments or email me back when you get those emails if you are on my list. The other thing, have I anything else to say about that right now? I don't think so. Oh yeah, there is something else that's powerful happening during this new moon tomorrow, and that is that Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, is actually forming an exact trine, which is a very good aspect to Saturn. So Mars and Saturn are usually they're quite tense, but the positive side of Mars is courage and action, ignition, passionate, assertive. That's the positive side of Mars. And then Saturn, the positive side of Saturn is it's responsibility, taking responsibility for your own life, being disciplined about putting things together, and having clear focus, structure, and all of this is strengthening that Mars, which actually rules Aries. So I feel that this is really a positive new moon. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now I'm going to read some cards before I go, and the cards that came out, and I shuffled, and I doused on these, and I'm going to be reading them on a longer scale in my private Facebook group. The link is below here as well, because on the card readings in there I'll interact with whoever's online and sometimes pull cards for them. So the first card that came out today is see the other person's point of view, and I'm glad that jumped out, because that is also a reminder that with that Mars energy, and there can be a bit of a tumultuous time, because the opposite of the good side of Mars, that kind of passionate and assertive side, might be aggression. So if you're noticing that with people around you, or even in yourself, but if you're noticing it outside of you, and there is a huge amount of eruptive energy right now, a lot of assertion, a lot of protesting, but just notice, just be very curious. You don't have to agree with other people, because there's always more than two sides to every story. There's always three. If there's two sides, we're in duality, and we become very, I'm right, you're wrong. But actually, when you look at the third point in those three sides, neutral. Just be neutral. And when you put yourself into a neutral state and just look at the other person's point of view. You don't have to agree with them, but it just changes that energy. It loses its tension. So even if that's something that you're noticing in your home or in your workplace or around you, just be curious about it, and it will completely dilute that, you know, strong aggressive side. Now, the second card that came out, mother, wife, sister, daughter. Now, I feel that this is, now it may be that somebody watching this needs to do some forgiveness work or releasing work on a female in your life, whether it's your mother or your sister or your wife or your daughter or maybe a teacher or some friend, but it's the feminine energy. Now, that's one meaning for it. And the other thing that I feel might be even stronger right now is that the rise of the divine feminine, and that doesn't mean that women are, you know, better or anything like that. It means that we all have feminine and masculine in us, and the rise of the divine feminine is sort of coming back right now to bring that balance back. That it's, you know, but it's neither one should be out of balance. We need to balance masculine and feminine energy, and we all have both. But just having a balance, and maybe right now for this weekend, balancing that feminine aspect might be just allowing more, receiving, be open to receive. The feminine energy is receiving and nurturing. The masculine energy is sort of giving, and it's kind of more, I suppose, assertive. But just balancing. Where are you out of balance? And just being curious about that. Now, the next card was the spiritual law of attraction. And this is just reminding you that you have the ability to manifest anything that you want in life. It doesn't mean that you sit at home and that you play with a magic wand, but you or that you just decide something and that it happens. Yes, you have to do that. That's the beginning. Yes, you have to align your energy and know you want it and believe it and get excited about it, but you also have got to take action. Now, with this card, and we'll be talking more about that, because that's sort of behind everything I do, is how manifestation really works and releasing beliefs that block us and all of that. But the spiritual law of attraction is really just reminding you that it is a law. It is a spiritual law. We're all able to do this. First though, and for this particular part of the moon cycles, tomorrow after, and it's happening at 11, just 2 minutes I think before 11 a.m. GMT. So know where it is on your timeline of wherever you're living in the world, because if you're going to do that intention setting meditation, do it after, on or after that time, so that you're in the new cycle, that you're not doing it at the end of the old cycle. And that's just me being really picky, but that is the energy of it, is working with the cycle and making those intentions. And once you've made them, once you decide on it, focus on it, you know, get clear on it. The best thing you could do is journal or visualize or play with it, and play with the positive aspects of how you'll feel when you get it. I am going to be talking more about that, I feel, in the next moving forward, in the next month or so. And then the last card that jumped out here was positive change. So there is, you can make this happen though. I feel that everything that's happening on a collective scale is going to happen for the best. It's a positive change, but then I am an eternal optimist. But what I also believe is, when you truly believe that, and when you work towards that, and when you know, if that is your belief, that everything that's happening is for the positive, well, then you're going to see the positive. And actually, Tony Robbins just reminds me, Tony Robbins says, you know, whatever happens to you in life, whatever thing is thrown at you and it might feel bad, you know, asking yourself, how can this be for my best? How can this be great? How can this, change me for the better? And if you ask that question you know, you're going to see the positive answers. So you've got to put out the positive questions to get the positive answers. Now, the other card that I'm going to read, and I might read a little bit from the book, I know quite a bit, but it's this beautiful card, and it's just rest. And in fact, I was laughing when that card jumped out because I have a cat just like that, a little ginger cat. But this card is just simply asking you to be still, to be calm, to go within and listen. And that is probably the most important thing we could do today, Friday, the 28th. Go still and listen. Now, you can do that every day, but today, if you go still and listen and just ask those questions, what do you need to release? What do you need to let go of? What are you done with? And just listen. And also this card, so I've been doing a lot of work on flow and being in flow, but there are 3 types of flow. And there's active flow, there's passive flow, and there's neutral flow. And an active flow is when you're doing something that you know how to do, you're good at what you're doing, and you're actually just doing it, getting that work done, whether it's your creative work or your writing work or which is creative, or your business work, but it's the thing that you are here to do, and you love it, and you're just doing it. That's active flow. And then passive flow is you want to do this thing and you don't know all the ways, but it might be that you're learning something new, that you're releasing something, or you're working on something. I've been working in this program for the last 3 months, and I'm really getting excited about where it's going now, and I'm near the end for a period. That to me, I've done a lot of passive flow because it's all learning and writing and doing that side. And then the neutral flow is so important, and people don't think so much of this. But neutral flow is when you go in to that still place, when you're resting, when you're not doing anything or listening to anything. Nothing's going out or coming in. You're just in that space. And one of the things that I've been learning in the last few months has been more about human design, because I use this with my one-to-one clients, and I'm going to be using it more moving forward in groups. But knowing and trusting yourself, knowing yourself through your human design, and trusting yourself, and then being yourself and being authentically you. But human design, if you know your date and time and place of birth, you can be really accurate and find free. You can find charts on how that is, and I'm going to be talking more about that in my working moving forward. But knowing, when you have that chart, you will know as well where you do your best inspiration. And for me, it's shores. I like to be near the sea. When I'm by the sea, I just feel, all ideas come to me. And being by the sea, it can also be by a riverbank or a place of 2 different, in fact, I get my best ideas when I'm putting on a camera and speaking to you guys, because that's a difference from here and to doing that. Ideas just flow. So when you're not putting anything out, when you're not thinking and you're just channeling, you'll get that idea, is basically what I'm feeling. But everybody has a different place that does that work. Some people love to be in restaurants in a busy environment with things happening, and that's where they get their flow. So if you know where you get your flow, be in that flow. And if not, just be quiet. Just go somewhere quiet. Go somewhere, go inside in your own body, and just allow the inspiration to come up. And we all need to rest and rejuvenate and to release and let go. So the 3 things, again, I'll just reiterate, to do right now is review where you've been and let go of what you don't want to do anymore. And then the second one is getting clarity of purpose, clarity of your idea, clarity on a big dream, clarity on what you want, and write it down and add to it and take away things, over the days and weeks to come. Get clearer and clearer on that. I wouldn't suggest just getting in and starting something straight away because of those two personal planets going retrograde at too much at one time. And then the last thing is just healing what needs to be healed, and looking at that kind of, you know, which also came up in this when you're, you know, with this card, the seeing the other person's point of view, you know, looking at being assertive instead of aggression. And another thing about that is when you can put a sort of a neutral, when you're in neutral and somebody is behaving badly around you, you can bring yourself into that place where you can just view and observe. It doesn't affect you. When you're removed from it, you can sort of place a bubble around yourself and you're removed from it. Nothing can hurt you or affect you, and then you are able to make the best decisions, basically. And so instead of being aggressive with this energy, you're being assertive and you're just being calm and whatever. So that is really important right now, watching your energy. And in the link, there's a link tree link. I'll probably put that below here, because in that link you'll see all of my free stuff, basically. So it's I've got the audio for new moon intention setting and wishes setting, a meditation. I've also got a highest self meditation, which is new. I've only recently added that, and I think actually that's really positive and powerful and important actually moving forward, because we're moving into a kind of a really uncertain time, and there will be, you know, we can do only affect ourselves and our energy. But with that meditation, I get you to actually visit and meet your highest self, and that you're giving yourself, you know, you're empowering yourself by that. And it's good to have an intention when you're looking at that for it, but it's also an intention for the world. You're able to also like hold our beautiful world in a loving embrace right now, and breathing and just being. We need to be centered and breathing. So I've put all of those free in the description, and also a link if you are interested in joining my Facebook group, where I actually turn up and do these but interact with people. And this is longer than I'd intended, but this is a really important one. Love you all. Thank you for following me, and have a fabulous new moon and solar eclipse. Even if it's partial, it's still powerful. Bye.